when the Lord was showing this to me, I was privileged to be ministering in Canada, and the home of this couple at about 100 yards away from their property was an eagle's nest. And every year this breeding couple would come to raise their eaglets. And they had on their back deck, like a telescope that was just focused on the nest. So you could see, we were there for this particular season where these eaglets were just beginning to kind of emerge. And when an eaglet is born, it's like all beak, and the body kind of grows onto the beak, because what I saw is this massive beak and like nothing else. And as we were there over that season, and she explained this to us, the couple who lived there, that as the eaglets grow, their wings start to get really big. Too big for the nest. And then there comes the season of fledging, where the mother and father eagle will literally fly above the nest and screeching, because these North American bald eagles have a very high voice. They screech at their young, spread your wings and catch that wind. Feel, because those little eaglets are thinking, yeah, you could do it, I can't. I ain't leaving. When's salmon coming, Mom? Hungry. And, every other day around this time, you were bringing food. Let's get on with the show here. We're both, me and Junior here, we're hungry. And Mama's about to start to say to them, kids, that day is over. Dad and I are not going to feed you anymore. It's time for you to spread your wings. I don't think so, Mom. I don't think my wings work. They're kind of here, and I'm not sure if they actually do work, and I don't trust them. You guys can fly, me and Junior here. We're looking at each other like, when's the salmon coming, Mom? And the mom will flap her wings and screech, spread your wings, because once she knows that once their wings go out and they catch a little bit of air, as they jump, a foot or 18 inches, or maybe a meter, and then they go, oh no, thank you very much. I'm going to another church. Hallelujah. Now, that mother eagle saying, this is the time for you to get out of the nest, Junior. So she will put her big beak into that nest and start ripping it apart. All that soft, cushy down is being ripped out. And all the hard, thorns and thistles and stuff that she purposely built for this moment. Mom, that's uncomfortable. Will you stop that? Get Daddy over here. I want to have a talk with him about you. I don't know what's got into you. What are you doing taking the nest apart for? We like it here. We like it here. And Mom is saying, well, if you won't start lifting your wings, I'm about to leave and you're going to die, because you have to learn how to fly. So she starts ripping the nest apart, letting them know, not only am I not going to feed you anymore, you're not going to have a place to stay, because it's uncomfortable. How many of you have had Jesus do things in your life that wrecked it? I mean, Lord, I want your will and I want your kingdom. And you think, oh, this is going to be wonderful. And it's the exact opposite. Hell breaks loose. How many of you had that moment? Oh, yeah. When you pray, Jesus, I want your will, he thinks you mean it. Because you're thinking, oh, this is going to be great. Jesus is kind and merciful, and I'm going to get blessed, and money, and cars, and houses, and yachts, and pension. Hallelujah, Tenerife, here I come. And the exact opposite happens. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Because he wants you out of the nest, and you want, no, I like this nest. Because he's looking for disciples he can entrust with his authority to eventually rule and reign with him. Do you understand that? This process, the eagle as the analogy, is about you learning how to flow in the Spirit. Now it's really interesting as you study the Bible in Job talks about, speak to nature and it will teach you. There's so many powerful spiritual lessons. So when God begins to liken himself to an eagle, we do well to study eagles. So one of the things that I did is start to study eagles. And when a female eagle has reached the age of maturity where she wants to take a mate and start to raise a family, she will look around at the males that are in the flock to find out which of them are mature enough to raise a family. Okay, get that. Because she doesn't want a juvenile who's irresponsible. Oh, I'm letting that go for you. Okay, so here's what she does. There's some juvenile or some male that's reaching the age of maturity, and she tests him. She takes a stick of a fairly good size, flies really high with it, and drops it. He then has to swoop down and catch it, bring it back to her. Then, if he does that, she will go and find a slightly larger, heavier piece of branch or wood or whatever, fly up in the air to a lesser height, and drop it, and he has to swoop down and catch it before it hits the ground, bring it back to her. Then she'll get another heavier piece, fly to a lesser height, drop it, he has to swoop down and catch it. If he passes her test, she will fly in the air, turn herself on her back, put her talons up in the air. He will fly on top of her, put his talons down. They will lock talons and go into this flight and dance in the air as their talons lock. That is their wedding day. That's the moment they marry. They become a pair for life. They go then and build a nest and raise their family. Now, the reason she does that is because she knows that when the eaglets fledge, when they get out of the nest, and sometimes, they're jumping, and the next thing you know, they're out of their nest, and it's like, help! Because their little wings are not yet strong enough to catch them, hold their body, and fly up, and Mama and Daddy have to swoop down and grab them and bring them back to the nest, at which the little eaglets said, oh, God help. I knew they wouldn't work. I'm telling you, Junior, they didn't work. Oh, I'm not doing that again. How many of you know what that feels like? Oh, I'll never prophesy again. I'll never preach again. I'll never evangelize again. I'll never get on the platform and sing. I won't do it again. No. And after the Lord says, you finish your whinging. Oh, God, I have to go back to church. And the thing is, you don't have to. Because these are analogies for our life in the Spirit. So that eaglet now, having been rescued, Mama's bringing him out again. Come on. You've got to make those muscles work. Then he gets out again. He catches the air a little bit. He starts to go down. Daddy comes, brings him up. And little by little, the process of fledgling. And in an hour or so, or 2 hours, however long it takes, they actually begin to get confident that their wings work. And they fly to the next branch. They're not ever going back to that nest. Now they're on their own because Mommy and Daddy is not going to feed them. And then they literally fly to the next branch, until they can get in the air. And, by the end of that day, they're in the air and they're like, whoa, this is amazing. I didn't think I could do it, but look at me, I'm flying. This is the invitation, beloved. Look at you. You're flying.